The World Wide Web. Pages, people, data. Lots of data. Generated and stored by people, businesses, communities. But until you put it out there, you won't have any idea of what it can do, how it could change the world. So join us. We can show you how. The Web Observatory, unlocking the potential of data.
What we have in the Web Observatory is the start of something quite game-changing. I remember starting to use GitHub, which initially was went by this social coding, that was the tagline of GitHub. And it changed the game because it allowed people to collaboratively work on code, to share code, to fork the code, and use other people's code to build things. And I think the Web Observatory engages the public in a similar way. So you could be someone who is sharing data. So you start from the point that you have a data set and you want to share it. Or you have an app built on some data set and you want to share both the data and the app. And that can be done with the Web Observatory. You start from another perspective as someone who's looking for data or looking for some analytics of this data. So that's where the Web Observatory helps you to discover data, search for apps which use this data. And then when you start using it, you might realize maybe this app is not actually what I want. So you can build something on this app and on this data to provide what you actually want. So it's like Lego. It's building blocks of data and apps. The Web Observatory also is decentralized, so which basically means that data is everywhere. So it's not stored in one location. And if you produce data, you can own your own data and control your data. So now there's a lot of Internet of Things devices coming onto the web and onto the internet. And this is actually a 5-pound Raspberry Pi Zero. And you can basically host whatever data that you produce and you create on this Raspberry Pi Zero and put it onto the Web Observatory. So for that, we have some technology utilizing dynamic domain names service. You can use your broadband at home. You can deploy one of these Raspberry Pi Zeros. You can collect the data and you can host your own data in your own home and put it and share it with other people on the Web Observatory.
Can we ever agree on metadata for data sharing? I think there's no black and white answer, it's rather in the gray area. Of course, to some extent, we can agree on the universal level, on the high level. For example, every data set should have a field like publisher, the published date, the date of modification, and the general description, something like that. Those fields should apply to just every data set. But on the other hand, there are also some specific fields. If you want to really describe in details a specific data set in different areas, it's really hard to reach an agreement. For example, in biology, those people, the requirement for data sets is very different from the requirement as we web scientists do. In such cases, we do better just leave that to the field domain expert, and we develop specific vocabularies for each different fields, and then we can kind of integrate them and to better describe the data sets in details. We can't make sure that whatever we adopt will be still relevant in the long term. But what we can do is we can keep an eye on this fast developing area, and we just try to follow up the best practice as possible as we can. And we just keep updating whatever the technology we're using to keep the pace with the development of web.